Shalom Aleichem, Erev Tov, good evening. We are together for, once again, an annual Pesach seminar. I want, just before we start, to share a few notes and perhaps disclaimers. Those of you who've been here before, some of this will not be new for you. For some of you, I see you from across the world, so Beruchim Abayim, Shalom Aleichem. For those of you in person here in San Diego, also, Beruchim Abayim, thanks for being here in person. I know that a lot of you from San Diego are on Zoom also, so keep doing the Pesach preparation. Hopefully after this class, your life will be a little bit easier. Obadiah, come close. I'd like to see you. Baruch Hashem. Before we start, a few announcements. First, I think I saw Rabbi Yitzchak here. I don't know if I saw Liba, but just a shout out to my moderators on Facebook, to also Rav Tzvi Holt, to the whole chevra who, without you, I could not do what I do, especially this holiday season. And really, you are unbelievable. You are on a roll, and zechut harabim, the merit of the masses is on you. So, Piskul mitzvot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shall bless you and your families, and on behalf of everyone here, I thank you for all that you do for us. Really, we couldn't do it without you. And for those,
thank you very much.
Baruch Hashem. Really, it's a zechut to be working alongside you. And in addition, I want to thank my wife and our significant others that help us in this Pesach season do everything else so that we can do what we do. And really, my wife right now is home with the whole crew preparing all the food for her Chag. And B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, all will be well. And for those of you that will be in San Diego, I look forward to seeing you here. If you haven't yet booked your flights, there's still time, B'ezrat Hashem. So you're welcome to join us. Hopefully, they will all be moot because we'll all be together in Yerushalayim, Kodesh, B'ezrat Hashem. The next part of this, for me, is important. There are some people who are here that learn with me the whole year. Most of you. Maybe all of you. And those of you that are here who learn with me the rest of the year, this shiur was intended for you. This shiur was only intended for people who consider this their Bet Midrash, who perhaps consider me their rabbi. I don't come at all to change what everybody else in the world does, in any kehillah, in any community, any rabbi, any posek, any dayan. I'm not here to make trouble. And the use of my forum or the Torah that I teach to make trouble in the Jewish people is not something that I sanction or that I warrant. What to do if you're in a kehillah where living life according to halakha is problematic? Well, welcome to our kehillah. Baruch Hashem, there's always a chance. You're not a tree. You can always get up and move. And last but not least, perhaps a little bit of why. Why do we do what we do? I wrote an article that was published in the Chabura out of London, in their journal, perhaps last year, Pesach. And in there I began by sharing a story that if you would have told me 15 years ago that I'm going to have a Pesach forum online, and that when I walk into a city like I did recently, and I walk into Bet Midrash, I say, wait, are you the Rabbi Halevy whose Pesach forum we use? Yeah, that's me. I guess I got famous for something. Baruch Hashem. That a whole concept would have been so foreign to what I ever came to the world to teach. As much as people think that I love to talk about kashrut, really, I don't. If you sit in Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim, you can count on your hands the amount of times in the last year that we've spoken about kashrut, and you cannot even count the amount of times we've had classes on kashrut because we already did that so many years ago. But this topic becomes a problem for many people who live in communities where kashrut or halakha are used to manipulate or take away from people or oppress people. And I have another word for this, and I'll give you an example for that. Aluminum foil that is kasher lePesach. That's a thing nowadays. Water bottles that are chametz. That's a thing nowadays. There are people who are convinced that water bottles are chametz. And I heard all the stories. I heard, maybe this, maybe that, maybe. Baruch Hashem, there is no maybe when it comes to observing halachot. You don't have to worry about maybes. Only about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. And this whole relationship that people have with this holiday, people have been panicking. I was somewhere and I said, 2 months from today will be Pesach. And people, they lost their minds. For me, when I announced Pesach is coming, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the night of the Seder. I'm thinking my friends, my family, my kehillah. I'm thinking a white robe and a talit. I'm thinking beautiful food on the table. I'm thinking my kids are happy. They all got something for. That's what I'm thinking when I hear Pesach. Other people, when they hear the word Pesach, it's like, I might as well talk about the Malach HaMavet and the angel of death. That people will be more happy to talk about that than to talk about Pesach. And the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a holiday of freedom, and what we've managed to turn it into is a holiday of servitude, cannot possibly be the fault of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's an absurd thing. It's an absurd thing to turn a holiday that was intended to make us feel free to something that is oppressive and hurtful to people. And by the way, not all people. Excuse me, I once had a couple call me. This is a good story. Rabbi Yitzchak, this story is for you. I once had a couple call me mamash before Pesach, maybe 3 days before Pesach. I can share the toilet for a good reason. They were very God-fearing Jews from the Brooklyn area of the world, Hasidim, but real Hasidim, right? Real, whatever, I don't know how you define real Hasidim. They called me 3 days before Chag. Total Shlom Bayit disaster. The house was collapsing. What happened? They got married in the previous year. And the husband's mother has a minhag. Now let's use the word minhag loosely, a custom. Yeah, I'm not going to use the legal definition of custom. She covers all of the shelves in the bedrooms, like where the clothes go. She also covers them with aluminum foil. Not just the kitchen countertops, not just the closets where there are food, not just the refrigerator so she can stop the airflow in the refrigerator and then it will break and then it also will cost the money. She also puts on everywhere your pants go and your socks go. She puts aluminum foil there. Now this young bride, she was in her first year of marriage. She was heavily pregnant. He came home and started screaming at her why she's making them break the halakha of the holiday, that she's not covering the shelves in the bedrooms. They called me what to do. And she says, listen, it's not my minhag. I don't want to do it. I'm pregnant. And he says, but it's my mother's minhag. You married me. The halakha follows the man. Da, 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 da. And they asked me, what can you do? Sim shalom benenu. Let's make peace between us. I said, I have a good compromise. If he wants to continue his mother's stupid minhag, so he can do it. Why does she have to do it? He can go take aluminum foil and put he can decorate the whole house with aluminum foil if he wants. But he can't tell her to do something that is not required, especially in the situation that she's in. Who do you think you are? And this has to summarize the entire feeling about Pesach. You can come with whatever crazy imagination you want, but you can't tell us that that's what we have to do. And it reminds me of this week's parasha. Because in the parasha that we just read, parasha Tazria, there's a woman who gives birth. And the woman who gives birth is supposed to bring to the Bet Mikdash a sacrifice. What's the sacrifice? Okay, why a Korban Chatat? That's a good question. But what does she bring? Which kind of sacrifice? Anyone know? Also, so let's read to you. ובמלאות ימי טהרה לבנו לבד תביא כבש בן שנתו לעולה. She should bring a young כבש, lamb. ובן יונה או תור לחטאת, and a small bird, a dove, a pigeon. אל פתח אוהל המועד לכהן. ויקריבו לפני אדוני וכיפר עליה, and he will offer it. And then the Torah says, ואם לא תמצא ידה דסה. And if she can't afford to bring a sheep, lambs are expensive. You want to buy a lamb for the holiday? You know how much money you have to pay to buy a lamb for the holiday? You're not just talking about a lamb chop. You're talking about a lamb. What if she can't afford it? What if being Jewish becomes so expensive that she cannot afford to have more children? Don't think that's something that I'm telling you lightly. I've had couples come to me to say they wish they could have more children, but they can't afford Jewish school for one more child. That's the reality of Judaism that you and I live in. So what should you do? She should bring 2 turtle doves or young doves, and she should bring them to the Bet Mikdash. That works instead of a sheep. How expensive is a dove? If you want to go buy a dove now in a pet store, how expensive is a dove? I probably know better than you. Not so much money. I don't buy doves, but $20, $30. But look at better. You want to know better? Ovadia, why does the Kadosh tell her to bring a dove, not a chicken? Okay, wait, there's a good answer. They don't bring chickens at Bet Mikdash. But why? Why a dove? Ah, very good. Last week in my house, a dove fell out of the nest. And it was hurt. And I had to, not my nest, not in my house, it was in the backyard. And I had to go help this dove get back to its nest. So what did I do? Walk to the dove. How do you catch a dove? Like this. That's it. Doves are not known for their escaping capabilities. They're not experts in that. They're pretty easy to catch. Anyone who's ever dealt with trying to catch a dove, they're pretty easy birds to catch. There's some birds that are hard. Where are there doves? Everywhere. In Israel, everywhere. In Yerushalayim, everywhere. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, I can't make Judaism so unaffordable that a woman can't have a child because she can't afford to bring a sacrifice to the Bet Midrash. Just bring me to whatever you find out there. What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking from us? Commitment. To get broke, to be poor, to be devastated, to feel oppressed, to suffocate. That's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking from us. Who did I hear this from? Rabbi Peretz. He always told us, remember that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes an exception to go find any bird that you can get in the street. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to teach the Jewish people. So in that spirit, that's why we started this forum. That's why we have this class. Once a year, we have to remind ourselves that Judaism is normal. Torah is easy. Listen, okay, easy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not trying to make our lives hard. Who tried to make our lives hard? That's right. But who tried to make our lives hard? It's in the Pesach story. The Egyptians made our lives bitter. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu freed us from them. So now what do? We make Jewish people's lives bitter to remind them of the exodus of Egypt. That's how we must fulfill this minhag. Now, you may think I'm talking in jest, but this is the truth. This is how people feel when they come to Pesach. Now, add to this one last thing. I had another Hagdama for you. You come to this class this year, and you may be expecting to hear some great chidushim, some incredible things you didn't hear last year. For those of you who've been coming to this class for a few years in a row, or you listened to last year's class, let me disappoint you already up front. If I was in marketing, this is not what I would tell you at the beginning of the class. But I'm not in marketing, I'm in teaching Torah. There was not a new revelation on Har Sinai since last year Pesach. It didn't happen. There was no famous event where God appeared to the Jewish people and handed us new Torah. A new Shulchan Aruch was not published by Maran Rabbi Yosef Karo, and the Sanhedrin has not reconvened and yet changed halakha. Whatever was the halakha last year is the same halakha that it is this year. So unlike other kosher classes you go to, every year they come up with new things. So yesterday something was not allowed, today's allowed. Yesterday something was allowed, today's not allowed. It doesn't work like that. Whatever halachot I told you last year apply this year. The halachot in COVID were the same halachot as without COVID. You saw in the middle of Corona, all of a sudden, everybody started saying things that we've been saying for years. Only once in your life, in this special Pesach, because we're all in lockdown, all of a sudden, it's like what the prophet says, a new Torah will come forth out of Zion. And then the new Torah came, but then it was taken away right away because it can't last after COVID. And so here, there's really, I'm telling you in advance, nothing so exciting. We're just going to go through basic things that we know as a refresher. Because whereas I may have reviewed these halachot many times in the last year, maybe other people have not had a chance to review these halachot. So please, I'm asking you, stay with me. Don't feel like you're going to discover America or something. Leave in that. Look, discover America. How can you discover something that people already knew about? It's an incredible word, but it's okay. Let's look together. I brought some show and tell in a minute, but for right now. Very quickly, a note about Maran HaShulchan Aruch and the frame of reference. Today in Hebrew, I'm subscribed to the Academy of the Hebrew Language, Academia Lishon HaIvrit. And the best part of the Academy of the Hebrew Language is that they don't have a Hebrew word for academy. So they make you change all of the words that you want to use in Hebrew, but they themselves don't listen to those rules. It's like David Ben-Gurion made everybody change their names to Hebrew names, but his wife, I guess you can convince everybody except for your wife. That's how that works. I said convince at the Shon Nikiya. My family all gave up their names for... The pressure was very intense. I'm going to say kindly on camera. So in the Academy of the Hebrew Language, they put out a new word of the day. The word is Pei Vav Resh. Or, no. Yeah. Pei Vav Resh. Po. Pu. Now I thought, wow, that's connected to Purim, except they're a few weeks late. So then all of a sudden they said, no, that's not what it means. No, sorry, not Pei Vav Resh. Pei Vav Vet. Puv. What is that? What's a puv? Pov. In English, what's a POV?
Point of view.
Point of view, or what the other one was frame of reference. So in Hebrew, they say frame of reference, and then they write that in Hebrew letters. Or a point of view, and then they write that in Hebrew letters. And I'm supposed to know what that means. Like one time I was in my aunt's house in Haifa, and they brought tea, to choose tea. And I wanted to try something new, and there was a new tea on the table, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And I'm reading the label, reading the label, reading the label. Yellow box, very nice, but I can't understand. It's not Hebrew. So I asked my uncle, maybe there's some Hebrew words I don't know, he could help me out. And it says Lipton, yeah, that's Lipton, yellow label tea. Like that. Label. You know how to spell label in Hebrew? That's what they call it. I was trying to, maybe it's a kind of herb I didn't hear about before. I knew same tea you get in the United States, just the Hebrew name. Here, we have to discuss what is our frame of reference. What is our point of view? Our frame of reference is the following. There is a creator in the universe. The creator gave us a Torah. The Torah is divine. Moshe Rabbeinu received an oral Torah on Mount Sinai. That oral Torah was codified, written down in the Mishnah and the Talmud that we have today. That was later put into law by the Rambam, and then later in the generation of the Shulchan Aruch was perhaps rewritten, restyled, little things changed in order to reflect what was going on in the Jewish people in that place. We view those books, the Torah, the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, Talmud and Mishnah, of course, as binding on the Jewish people. When I say binding, I mean the Jewish people have to follow Jewish law. And the deviation from Jewish law, whether to the right or to the left, is deviation from Jewish law. It doesn't matter if you're on a freeway and the freeway says 65 miles an hour. If you go 85 miles an hour, you're breaking the law. If you go 45 miles an hour, you're breaking the law. Both of those things are dangerous to other people that are driving on the freeway. Jewish law requires from us to follow the law. If you get pulled over by the police officer because you've been speeding 120 miles an hour on the freeway, and they pull you over, we say, don't you see I'm wearing 3 seatbelts? They say, why do you need 3 seatbelts? Because I'm strict. I wear 3 seatbelts. Who needs you to wear 3 seatbelts? We need you to wear 1 seatbelt and to follow the law. Drive at the right speed. I don't need 3 seatbelts and to break the law. Very many Jews, they think, let's do all the things that we'll put aluminum foil on the countertops, we're going to blowtorch our microwave, we're going to do hagala with boiling water on our teeth, we're going to do all that, and we're not going to fulfill any of the other mitzvot in the Torah. It doesn't help anybody. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that we should follow the Torah. My wife recently taught a shiur. In her shiur, she taught from Rabbi. Rabbi always says, it says that Aharon did exactly what Moshe told him. And you think, what's so special about it? Of course he did. It's not so simple that God will tell Moshe something. Moshe tells Aaron. Aaron doesn't have his own idea. The Jewish people have always decided not to listen to the creator of the universe when he tells us what we want. And so here it's very important. Very important to know this is the frame of reference in which we operate. The Shulchan Aruch, you can argue with its perfection, its lack of perfection. You can listen to my classes about the Shulchan Aruch. We view the Shulchan Aruch to be normative Judaism. This is Judaism that we can agree on. You can't persecute me for following something that is written inside of the Shulchan Aruch. If what we're doing here follows the rules that are written in the Shulchan Aruch, I don't want to hear you tell me that my house is not kosher. I don't want to hear that you can't marry my children. I don't want to hear that you can't eat my food. You can say whatever you want. But in that case, where I'm following the law and you think you're better than what God said or what the rabbis have ruled, then I don't want my children to marry your children, but not the other way around. Don't come here thinking that because you decided not to eat beans on Pesach when God never said so, that you are now somehow more religious than me, or better than my family, or better than my community. I don't want to hear it. And so, you can do whatever you want. I let you not eat gummy bears either. But don't tell me that people who do are therefore violating halakha. Maybe you shouldn't eat gummy bears ever. I'm just saying, as the first thing that popped to mind, I was thinking about the kids club, and if I check the candies for Pesach. So, and now that we know that, that's what I mean when I say halakha. What is halakha? Sure, everybody has a halakha. Everybody and their friend, everybody and their rabbi, everybody at Knesset. I refer to the classic works of Jewish law, and those classic works of Jewish law, as understood by our Chachamim, is what dictate for us what is Jewish law. I think if I spend some time on discussing what is our stance on halakha, as to whether we should be strict or lenient, I think I kind of answered my question already. That is, we're not supposed to be strict, and we're not supposed to be lenient. We're supposed to follow what's written in the law. That's what we're supposed to do. But we don't view people who think they do better than HaKadosh Baruch Hu as better than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because, the Christians have this idea. It's a replacement theology. They've replaced what comes before with something better. And they say that, why God made the Mormons, so the Christians know what the Jews feel like. There was a certain... but at the end of the day, we don't try to replace HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah. We think it was good. We sing, Torah temet natanan, we gave us a true Torah. Or when my daughter is in the bed, said, Yafa v'taman, Torah temim. It's a beautiful Torah. If it's beautiful, I don't need to update it. If you've got a great phone, don't go for an upgrade. It's great. If you have something good, why are you changing it? People, they do this sometimes when they're married. They're looking for upgrades. They get married, but it's like, maybe if something better comes along, then we'll upgrade. But that's not how it works. You choose what's good, and then you stick with it. That's why Chachamim say that if you go to a wedding, you should ask the bride and the groom, Matzah motzeh. You fine? Or are you looking? Meaning, are you happy with what you got, or you're still looking? You're still looking, you're going to make a miserable partner. Don't keep looking. You have what you have. The Torah that we have is beautiful. The Torah is ours. I don't need anyone to make it better. I don't need any new idea, any new custom. My Torah is good. The way we've been doing it, the way my grandmother did Pesach, the way your great-grandmother did Pesach, it's all good. It's all good. We're not looking for upgrades. Yeah.
Like Rosh Hashanah,
Yeah.
But an individual like myself, without a spicy or serrano with my food, I wouldn't be happy. Was that like he adding like a new custom, or did I have to stick with honey? No, I mean, because sometimes in the past, people.
I wish you guys could see Ovadia. That's all I wish you could see right now.
Maybe that's how custom developed.
Watch, let's explain. When I once spoke to my grandfather, my father's father, about minhagim, about customs, he said, and maybe some people don't like this example, it's what he told me. He said, in Yemen, I didn't wear pants. That doesn't mean that my grandchildren shouldn't wear pants. What does it have to do? What I did there had nothing to do with what's happening here. Like in our Sidurim. Our Sidurim says, in Morocco, we didn't stand for this chapter. And we stand here in the Kehillat. So, but in Morocco, I said, good, that's why we're in San Diego. I'm not Morocco. I don't know. Okay, what happened in Morocco? Okay, what happens right here? Yes? People have to realize that, what does a minhag? A minhag isn't everything my grandparents did as a minhag. It could be that your grandparents like spicy food. Eat spicy food. What do I care? We don't legislate spicy food or sweet food. When it comes to halakha, though, halakha is a law. The law is, this is how we do things. And it's important when we're going to use the word minhag. Chacham Shimon Edi is on the call, I see, from all the way from the other side of the world. Really, for him, it's tomorrow. I mean, it's not today. For him, it's tomorrow. And every year, he puts out a list of products that his family refrains from eating on Pesach. A whole list. Rabbi Shimon, are you here with us? He's at work right now. I know. Okay, watch, he's in a meeting with an AirPod inside. Rabbi Shimon has a list. He puts a whole list, and it says, number 1, chametz. And then after that, there's nothing on the list. Every year, he puts out his family's minhag. That's the minhag. And what else? My grandfather, Alav Shalom, he said, listen, in the Rambam it says we don't eat 5 grains. That's what the Torah said. You don't eat 5 grains. That's it. That's all we don't eat. Everything else is kasher Pesach. And perhaps this is where we should start. Yeah. Perhaps some differences then between Maran, Rabbi Yosef Karo, and the Rama. And it's very important here, don't get stuck on words like Sephardim or Ashkenazim. Sephardim are not an ethnic group, just like Ashkenazim are not an ethnic group. You don't have to be born to a family that comes from Spain to be Sephardi. As you know, most Sephardim have nothing to do with biology or ethnicity coming from Spain. Rather, the understanding of what is Sephardi, we are those who adhere to the halachic and philosophical outlooks of the rabbis from Spain. And that's something that's across the world. And then you have, if the Rambam is your rabbi, and the Rambam is Sephardi, then you are, therefore, part of this camp of Sephardim. And it could go the other way also. But I never will use the word Sephardi or Ashkenazi to divide people on the background of where you come from. And therefore, I think it's kind of useless when people tell me, oh, I'm Ashkenazi, can I do... You just make up your mind. Which is your approach? Which is the Bet Midrash that you're part of? And then you could do whatever is part of that approach to Torah. You don't inherit a Torah, you inherit Judaism. After that, the approach that you have to Torah is something you develop on your own. Right. He had a different Torah. There was an Ashkenazi in Har Sinai and a Sephardic Har Sinai. And when he was at Ashkenazi Har Sinai, it was decided it's forbidden for him to do what's written in the Sephardic Torah. That's how people think. They don't realize that's what they're saying. I mean, they accept there's two Mount Sinais. And I can't accept such a thing. There are no two Mount Sinais. And a person, so what do you mean Asulon? Everybody agrees that Sephardim and Ashkenazim can switch their customs. Am I right? Everybody agrees. Tell me somebody who disagrees. Tell me a group of Jews who thinks that you cannot change your customs.
The one that you just mentioned about oil.
Tell me who. Now if somebody wants to become Sephardi and they say, no, you were born Ashkenazi, you can't do it. Tell me who would say such a thing. Which group of Jews would say such a thing? Hasidim? Who? Ashkenazim? Who else? A lot of them?
Modern Orthodox too.
Okay, so let's explain. Hold on, this is great. Let's unpack this. Okay, Chabad. This is going to be my least politically correct class in the world right now. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. Okay? Usually I'm careful, but this year I've decided I came here. I also want to be free. So Avadim Hayinu, and now I'm free. All the Hasidim in the world used to be regular Ashkenazim, no? Before there were Hasidim, Ashkenazim prayed with a Siddur called Nosach Ashkenaz, right? Chabad's a great example. Use Chabad. I respect Chabad. Let's use Chabad as an example. Chabad started how many years ago? Let's give them even 300. I'm going to give them, it's not, but let's give them 300, okay? How many years ago was the Torah given? Okay, so it's thousands of years. So then that means that 300 years ago until 3,000 years ago, there's some kind of gap, right? You agree that there's a gap? Good. So far we can do math, yes? Now, 300 years ago, all the people that today identify as Hasidim used to just be regular Ashkenazim, correct? And then one day they got up and they decided to make a new Siddur. Why make a new Siddur? Because in their understanding of Kabbalah, they needed a new Siddur. Fine. And then they decided to make a new Shechita knife. Yeah? Then they decided to make new tefillin, and new tzitziyot, and new talitot, and new writing of the Sefer Torah. And then, 300 years later, they're very happy if someone who is Sephardic will become Hasidic, no? You never heard someone say, oh, you're Sephardic, you can't pray in the synagogue. I mean, maybe in a racist way, but not in a way like you can't join us. No, but no Hasidut ever said, oh, you're Sephardic, you shouldn't go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah. Nobody said that. Always the door moves in one direction. God forbid you should be born in Uman and come to pray in the Sephardic. That's God forbid. But the other way around, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees. The Hasidim are proof that based on your understanding of Judaism, you can change everything. They're the proof. So when they say you can't change your minhag, you should say, you are my proof that you can change your minhag. All of your rabbis did. And therefore, please, step out of my kitchen. Let me do what I've been doing for 3,000 years since the Torah was given. And then you realize, wait, so whose minhag is older? My minhag, because I'm still following what says in the Torah. I didn't change 300 years ago, and I didn't change 3,000 years ago. I'm still doing what was written then. I know it's a novel concept. And so, therefore, every Jew can default back to something that is more original. Because before my grandparents stopped eating rice and beans and corns on Pesach, they all used to eat rice and beans and corn on Pesach. And therefore, I'm just going back to my original minhag. Forgive me if what I'm saying sounds radical or aggressive, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it works in the other direction. And therefore, we can open the door. We're very well open the door in both directions. One of those doors that swings, the hinges go in both. They sell them at Home Depot. If it doesn't work, you can just get a new one. Yeah. So, let's talk about some differences then between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah as they relate to us. I touched on Kitniot. Let me talk about Kitniot later. The primary difference that's going to affect us and those of us using the forum has to do with buying things for Pesach without a hechsher. I'm sure many of you are familiar that our stance is that you are allowed to buy things for Pesach without a kosher symbol for Pesach. What's the great fear? What if the meat, watch, every year I buy meat from Los Angeles before Purim. Why before Purim? Because that's before the prices go up. The same chicken that used to be $3.49 now is $4.49. Happens to be this year before Purim, I was traveling. I didn't place my order on time. I got Pesach prices. So now everything went up. And I wish it was only $1 a pound for most things. Everything went up. What's special between the raw chicken you buy before Purim and the raw chicken after Purim? You have AD and BC. What's the difference? Aside from the sticker, what's the difference? No, they market it for a reason. What's the marketing? What do they say? There's no chashash, there's no concern that maybe someone ate a sandwich next to it, that somebody dripped the bread. The whole kitchen was made kasher for Pesach. That's what they tell you. No, they don't. They make it a chametz-free zone. What if you buy chicken and there's a drop of... this is exactly the point. So this is hold on, better than that. What if on Pesach you find out let's say before Pesach, I don't want to make you upset. Before Pesach, you find out that your matzah, it's stuck to a piece of bread. And this is the only matzah you have to eat on the night of the Seder. What do? Over there, you've been here for too long. You peel off the bread, and then you eat the matzah. What else do you do? It's not a problem. Today, people, I see they go to the grocery stores in New York, they put plastic bags in the grocery store, so God forbid the cheese who's in a package shouldn't touch, chas v'shalom, the packaging of the chametz cheese that was there before. That's like soon they have a mechitza, so like a separation. This is something that is not normal. Why? It comes from an absolutely incorrect understanding of halakha. But let's put where there are sources. Maran HaShulchan Aruch writes that meat that is prepared, salted or pickled, and fish and cheese, these are all things that are processed. So pickled, salted, cheese is a process. All of those things that are made before Pesach, with no special supervision for Pesach. So there's no special hashgacha, there was no care taken. Your ground beef from the store, it has breadcrumbs in it? No, of course not. It says 100% ground beef. Your steaks you buy in the store have breadcrumbs in them? The salmon you buy in Whole Foods has breadcrumbs? No. You don't assume that there's chametz in anything before Pesach. Unless you see schnitzel, which is chicken breaded. Okay, then you don't buy that for Pesach. But regular food products, even the ones that are processed, that do not contain chametz, you have no need to worry. Maybe there is chametz. And let's do it. So this is the Rama before we do it. The Rama says no. He wants to make sure that all food products for Pesach are prepared, especially for Pesach. But he has a condition. His condition is that if you come, Rabbi Josh Gerstein, who's my chavut, I have many years, he's a rabbi in the Israeli army now. Hashem should bless him and protect him. He wrote a note in my book, and he said that according to the Rama, I want to point out, the Rama says, no, you could wash the meat 3 times, and then you could use it on Pesach. So even the chicken that you bought before Pesach that they told you is chametz, you can still wash it, and now it's not chametz. Okay, so that's one major difference. So the reason why we feel comfortable buying all kinds of things that are not certified kasher lePesach, but they are kasher lePesach, we're not concerned that maybe there's a breadcrumb somewhere. Maybe. Now, why are we not concerned? This has to do with a second halakha. This is a second difference. The Shulchan Aruch says that if chametz falls into your food on Pesach, it's not nullified even in 1,000, right? So if you have chicken soup and some pig falls into your chicken soup, what has to happen for that chicken soup to be kasher? So there has to be 60 times more chicken soup than there is pig. And then it's nullified in 60, and then it's good to go. Chametz is not nullified on Pesach even in 1,000, which means if you drop one breadcrumb in a huge pot of chicken soup, it's not better. That's why some people are afraid to drink water in Israel on Pesach. Because in the Kinneret, in the Sea of Galilee, there are people who go feed the ducks. I don't know, they feed the birds over there, and they throw bread, and then now all the water of Israel has a breadcrumb in it, and chametz, Pesach, is not nullified. I'll leave you a riddle for the end of the class. You'll tell me, I already know because you were in the class. But why it is that we don't care about the bread being thrown in the river, it doesn't actually matter, but let's just leave that aside. Maran says that chametz is only not nullified on Pesach, but before Pesach. Is chametz prohibited today? No, right? So if you cook all of your food today, in your chametz pots and pans, in your chametz kitchen, with your chametz oven, I'm making things here very extreme. Your food is 1,000% kasher Pesach. Because even though you know there's chametz, and you're not allowed to nullify things that are forbidden intentionally, but before Pesach, is chametz prohibited? No. And therefore, even if you know that it's a chametz pot, you're allowed to use it today to make your food for Pesach. Is what I'm telling you sounding scary? Absolutely, but that's written in the Shulchan Aruch. I didn't make that one up. Says the Rama, there's a problem. There's a concept called chozer v'ne'or. Chozer v'ne'or is my favorite concept in halakha. I have to say, the Rama says, why are you saying it? I have to say, I have no choice. So the Rama says the following. You're right, today the chametz is nullified in your food. But on Pesach, he magically jumps out of the food. He wakes up, he jumps out of the food, and he jumps back into your food on Pesach, and now all your food is chametz, and it's not nullified even 1,000. And that, fine, I'm just saying that if one day I will write a book about all the places where halachic terms are misappropriated. But I'm going to say things about big Talmidei Chachamim that I don't want to speak. I don't mean to speak bad about them. It's just inevitable that you have to do such a thing. And one day, until then, there are time, other controversies to deal with first. But this particular halakha makes very many people scared. Because if your kitchen wasn't perfectly kasher lePesach, or the kitchen in the factory where they make the strawberry jam, maybe over there in the strawberry jam factory, they also make spaghetti. Yeah, that's what happens. You ever been to a factory? Anyone here worked in a factory?
Yeah.
Over there, what kind of factory you worked in?
Chicken processor?
Okay, in the chicken processing factory, what else do they process?
No.
Do they sometimes make spaghetti over there?
No.
What about toast? They make toast over there? How about pancakes? In a chicken processing factory, they listen carefully. I know it's a novel. In chicken processing factories, they process chicken. It's very important. They tell you cannot buy frozen vegetables because the same vegetable machine is used for fill in the blank. You ever seen a machine in a factory? They don't come multi-purpose machines. They have machines and then machines. And even if you found one place in the world that has a multi-purpose green pea and pasta machine, it's not even a thing. It's not even something you have to look out for.
Every end of our shift, there's a sanitation team that goes in there with hot pressure water
and then they still don't make pancakes after they sanitize the machine. That's the point over there. The chicken factory makes chicken. This is how this works. So, that being said, you can understand the panic that some people have. That maybe there's chametz, and even if it was nullified before Pesach, but I'm afraid it's going to wake up on Pesach. Okay, I'll tell you. We believe in Kehillat HaMetim. We believe in the resurrection of the dead. It just doesn't happen in the middle of Pesach. It happens when the redemption comes, the dead will come back to life. Maybe then you should worry about your chametz. Until then, if it's nullified before Pesach, you don't have to worry about it on Pesach. Further rule, that rule that says you cannot nullify something on Pesach is not accepted as law across the board. There are many Chachamim that disagreed with chametz not being able to be nullified on Pesach. And some claim that it could be nullified on Pesach, which even creates a further, not here to confuse you, our normative halakha is that we don't nullify chametz on Pesach. But there are instances in which that may be okay. And therefore that's another legal opinion to take into consideration. And with all of that, to now tell me that I cannot buy orange juice that's not certified P on it, because maybe, tell me the maybe, what's the maybe? Maybe in the orange juice factory they make bread juice. What do they make there? No, give me the logical scenario. What? Muffins, great. They make muffins in the Tropicana factory. And because of that, Zev, because of that, you now have to worry that all of your orange juice has muffin crumbs inside of it. What kind of crazy concern is that? And then people, but I don't drink chametz orange juice on Pesach. That's a not normal.
Make the protein drink.
Now I see all my Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim people are having fun right now. We have visitors. We're in the company of guests. Baruch Hashem. Let's be nice. So now, yeast protein drinks. Baruch Hashem. Now we have no problem with orange juice on Pesach. What's in the orange juice? Orange juice. And even if there was some trace chametz in the orange juice, come up with a ridiculous scenario. As long as the orange juice was made before Pesach, then you are absolutely okay buying it on Pesach. And therefore, we're not concerned with any of these things. Perhaps, if you were to ask me, what is the most prominent difference between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah for Pesach? Everybody tells me rice and beans, kidniyot. And I say kidniyot is nothing. Nothing compared to this halakha. This halakha says that everything that you buy that is otherwise chametz free stays chametz free throughout Pesach. And this is a fundamental principle that you have to internalize. And when you begin to see halakha through a lens of logic, it's very difficult to go back to other people's observance of halakha, which lacks logic entirely. It's all magic and superstition and graffiti, and you can't possibly think of it as something more than that. And whereas they can do what they wish, but those of us who are following halakha that makes sense don't have to apologize to people who say that our halakha is somehow wrong because it makes too much sense. It's okay when Judaism makes sense. In fact, something better happens. When Judaism makes sense, Jews want to stay Jewish, and the Jews who previously ran away from Judaism decide to come back. There's a pasuk. It says, Al tihi tzaddik harbe. Don't be too much of a tzaddik. No, you don't believe me? Look it up. There's a chacham, Rabbi Rafael Berdugo, alav hashalom. I think it was it. He writes a commentary in that pasuk. He says, Kanire, could be, that our rabbis of Ashkenaz did not study this pasuk properly. He's very respectful. He said, because what happens when we start to be too righteous is that people end up running away from Judaism. People run away from Judaism, and then you think you're making Pesach extra kosher, but you're making people run away from the Torah. And that is something that nobody can fix. Generations and generations of Jews who have run away from Jewish tradition, because if that's what you're going to make me do, I don't want to be crazy. I can't be crazy. My brain tells me otherwise. And it's very important, not just for us, but for our families and for our children. Even if you say, well, I can handle being like this on Pesach, you don't have a guarantee that your children can do it. And suddenly you say, wait, why are my grandchildren, chas v'shalom, not sitting around a Pesach Seder? Maybe because we scared them away. Maybe because we became crazy. And that's something that we can never be forgiven for. And therefore, if you're going to ask me, should you choose one or the other, I prefer a Judaism that my children will want to stick around. Sometimes I feel bad for my children. Really, I do. I was thinking about it today. We were cooking for Pesach, and my children will never experience, at least not in this part of their life, the neurosis that my wife and I, for example, had to experience as children who grew up in other communities. I can bring experience. No, my children don't know what it means. The house is chametz free for the last 2 weeks. You have to eat your challah outside in the porch over a plastic bag. My children never heard of such a thing. And in fact, I know that when my children will meet such people in the future, they're going to get really scared. I don't think that I've sufficiently prepared them for the experience of what happens when you do chag outside of Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim. But that's maybe a luxury on one end. It's a tragedy on the other end. Because some people don't know what to appreciate. Like there are people who are born in Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim. They're born here, or they've been here since they're little kids. And very often while they're here, it's always hard to be part of the weird community. Very hard. It's very difficult. And it's like always, it's like dance of like, I wish our parents were more normal, to be part of a more normal community. And then they go somewhere else, and all of a sudden, wow, this community becomes almost like a Bet Midrash. Like, wow, let's play, wow, the rabbis, the rabbanit. And it's like, what happened? The only thing that happened is you went somewhere else and you realized, I don't want to be like that. And then I always tell people, probably before I welcome people to the Kehillah, like somebody's going to join the Bedin, I say, first you have to go try somewhere else. And then when you're done, come to me after a year, and then you'll appreciate everything that happens. It's very important. This is very important. We want to keep our children Jewish. That's what we want. That's the whole story of Pesach. All of these mitzvot. Ask your elders, they will tell you. The whole holiday is a holiday of connection. We have a mitzvah on the 15th of Nisan to tell our children the story of Pesach. But if they're already so tired from cleaning, and they're so angry at you from throwing out boxes of trash, and they've been burning the chametz under their beds, or whatever they've been doing, then how do you expect they're going to sit at the seder and look at you and talk to you? I sometimes see people, they come to the seder, they're so tired. They're so tired. They can't even, tonight is the holiest night of the year. Lela seder, maybe some of you have never been to my seder. In my seder, there is no lashon hara. There is no speaking bad things. There is no talking about politics or your favorite football game. Lela seder, leil shimurim. It's a night of divine protection. It's a night of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there, is present. How could we possibly be sleeping then? People stay up all night on Shavuot because maybe we fell asleep in the morning of Har Sinai, but everybody's sleeping by the Seder. Erev Pesach? Go get your nails done. Go walk on the beach a little bit. You have time between 10:30 when you burn your chametz until the Seder comes. Go relax a little. I'm making the food for the whole bit of Knesset. You go have time. Go have a good time. Come, take a nap before the Seder. Sleep for 2 hours. Then come to the Seder, refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to stay up the whole night, learning Torah together. How could it be the first cup of wine, everybody's ready sleeping like that? How could it be? The Seder and the Seder night? Opportunities like that people stay up all night for New Year's to see a ball drop in New York. I can make a ball drop, go to sleep. But the Seder, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're still sitting and learning and talking and discussing because we're not worn out for the holiday. This whole experience, everything we're going to learn now, all of this is for the purpose of properly experiencing the holiday. And if what I've told you now seems like it's too much theory and not enough practice, well, hold on to your chair because right now we're going to talk about making your kitchen kasher Pesach. I see someone has a question. Naomi, you have a question?
Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Rabbi, maybe this is where you're going, but what I wanted to know if we would have time tonight to discuss sort of the run up to Pesach, what has to be done by what time, because that scenario you described as being exhausted going into Pesach, I mean, it's definitely happened to me too many times. And even like vital things that I should have done, I realized there was not any longer like the period of things you need to do before you do other things. It was messed up.
Okay.
Is
So
that something to lay out? I mean, in very simple terms.
yeah, I'm going to say very simply, and then I'll share the practical halachot here. Like I told you in the beginning, my frame of reference is halakha. Yes? Halakha determines, our rabbis decided, when do you start cleaning your house for chametz before Pesach? Well, let's start back. When do you begin learning the laws of Pesach? Tell me when you begin learning the halachot of Pesach. 30 days. So 30 yom before. That means that on Purim, when half of the people were drunk, and not us, chas v'shalom, we're Jewish people, we are learning Torah together on Purim. The first thing you do, you begin preparing yourself for Pesach. Halakha, there's what to learn. You have to learn how to bake matzot. You have to learn how to do the seder. You have to learn how to make your house kasher. You have to learn how to, all kinds of things. All kinds of things you have to learn. 30 days. That's the timer. Then Chachamim instituted, you begin the search for the chametz when? The night before Pesach. When? When the night before Pesach? When it gets dark. Meaning, when do you begin to clean your house for Pesach? This is rabbinic law. The night before Pesach. Which means our rabbis are telling us, it's not, somebody sent me an article this week, how to clean your house for Pesach in minutes. I was so excited. Somebody finally made a guide, how you clean your whole house for Pesach in minutes. I sent it to the moderators in the group. They thought they were being clever. I opened it and it said, bathroom closet, 45 minutes. Pantry, 65 minutes. Kitchen, 120 minutes. Everything was in minutes. You add up all the minutes, already by Chanukah, you are preparing your house for Pesach. That's how but they thought they were so clever. How to clean your house for Pesach in minutes. Chachamim really meant minutes. Now, you go around your house, you make sure there's no chametz, and then you put it aside. So the next morning, you stop eating chametz. Sometime, let's say I'm giving average time around 10:30. So by 11:30, your chametz is burned. Doesn't have to be burned. You don't have to burn chametz. There are thousands of people in the world that are hungry. You can go to your local food kitchen. If you have good closed chametz, donate it to poor people. Give it away to maybe your cleaning help, somebody who could use it. I have to throw away chametz. It's an American thing. We're so used to wasting food. Give it to somebody who needs it. You have to throw it away. There are people who don't have food now outside. Find them. I'm not your half moldy pita from last week. I'm like whole boxes of food. Give them to somebody who needs them. And then after that, That's when you relax. So you can get ready for the Seder at night. That's how that works. That's the whole way. So how do you clean your house so quickly? I'm going to tell you the halachot in a moment. But I'm going to use Ovadia. I use Ovadia every year. Okay, Ovadia? You can't see Ovadia, but this Ovadia, he's right here, Ovadia. It's the Chachamim say that certain people, if you see them in a dream, it's very special. If you see Ovadia in real life, it's very special. So, Ovadia's family is from Oaxaca, Mexico. Okay? In Oaxaca, let's give an average menu. Ovadia, give me one dinner, what the menu is. What do you start with food?
Just one course of chicken.
Chickens, bean, rice. It could be meat, beans, rice. It could be fish, beans, rice. Okay, what kind of bread? What kind of tortillas? It could be flour or corn, right? Flour tortillas or corn tortillas. Yes? What do you say on the side? What's the side dish? Some kind of salad. What kind of salad? Give me a good one. So salsa, we have salsa.
We have salsa. Salad. In Oaxaca, we're not
Pico de gallo.
Oh yeah, pico de gallo.
That's a salad, come on. That's like Israeli salad done a little bit better. Yeah, pico de gallo. That's like little diced up tomatoes. Yeah, okay, good. Guacamole. That's an avocado. Yeah. And then if you want dessert, what do you have for dessert? Hold on, in Oaxaca, there was no dessert. I know he's going to tell me. Maybe some tea.
Yeah, café de olla.
Okay, café de olla. Let's make café de olla. It's coffee, yeah, water, cinnamon, a little bit of sugar. It depends how much you like sweet. Me, a lot bit of sugar. And then you drink it in a cup. Good. What kind of tea? Green tea. A bitter tea, like Ovadia likes bitter tea. But let's say I was in his sister's house. In his sister's house, I got lemongrass tea or orange leaves tea. Okay, they tell you that tea, unless it's certified for Passover, it's all made out of chametz. That's what they say. So you take the orange leaves, and that has chametz. So you have to first, all of those things. You look at this menu. If I follow the Torah and the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, in order to make this meal kosher for Pesach, tell me what I have to do. What do I have to get rid of?
Use the corn tortilla.
Oh, you say use the corn tortillas. Instead of me say, get rid of the flour tortilla, use the corn tortilla. What about the rice? Good. What about the beans? Good. No, Rabbi Shimon, don't talk right now. You're ruining my story. Yeah? I never tell Rabbi Shimon not to talk, but now I have to tell him not to talk. Yeah? The chicken is good. The meat is good. Avocados, great. Salsa, wonderful. Pico, café de olla, great. It's just coffee and cinnamon. Everything is kasher lePesach, except for the flour tortilla. Says Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, tell us what you were going to say.
I was just saying, if you know how to bake them properly, then you just do them and they're going to be fresh.
So if you know how to bake tortillas, Rabbanit, Esther is with you right now? They're cooking for Chag. Anyone here know how to make tortillas?
I've had lots of practice, thankfully.
Okay, I asked on Shabbat, Esther and Chana, how long it takes to make one batch of tortillas. Okay, the men come home from work, ladies want to make them tortillas. How long does it take? Chana said 10 minutes, Esther said 8 minutes. Chana said 8 minutes, Esther said 10 minutes. That's what they said. Rabbanit, yeah?
Yes, right.
You agree? Okay, Esther, how long does it take you from zero, from flour until tortillas, out of the comal?
Me, 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes? Rabbi Shimon, I would venture to say that all of her tortillas are kasher lePesach. So, in which reality are you even changing what you eat on Pesach? But now watch this. Watch this. You can't eat corn, and you can't eat beans, and you can't eat rice. You can't eat any vegetables that are not otherwise peeled beforehand. You can't eat the tortillas that are soft. You can only eat the tostadas that are crunchy. Yeah, but those all have to be baked in a certain factory in Brooklyn that are $75 a pound. And then what are you left eating on Pesach? Maybe some chicken and a potato. And here we learn all of how Pesach works. When Jewish people ate like Jewish people, nothing really changed on Pesach. What do you have to do? Just the tortillas that were baked for too long because you made them rise or because you liked, what do they call the fried one with the cinnamon? Buñuelos, what do you call it? Those ones? Yeah? Okay, so those ones, maybe they're not kasher lePesach. But everything else in the house, it's good for Pesach. So what do I have to do already? Who keeps chametz under their pillow? Even if you keep chametz under your pillow, so go get the chametz away from your pillow. Now your house kasher lePesach. What about my kitchen? Now we're going to talk about the kitchen. I can talk about the kitchen now? Let's talk about your kitchen. In order to make one's kitchen kasher lePesach, you have to know one rule. And the rule is, Keshem shebol'o, kach poneto. The way that something is bolea, the way that something absorbs flavor, is the way that it secretes flavor, the way that it gets rid of flavor. An example. Let's say, my show and tell box. Liba, you bought me the show and tell box, no? She's embarrassed I brought it up. Okay. Every year I have to fight with my kids because I come home and I put it in the house because I don't organize my stuff right away. And my kids find out, but you have such good toys. You cannot touch my toys. These are my Pesach toys. And only Kaliba bought them for me and I have to have them every year. So let's say, let's use a sponge as a good example. If this sponge absorbs orange juice, how do you get rid of the orange juice? You squeeze it and you wash it with water. So the same way it absorbs with liquids, it's going to lose it with liquid. If this was a wooden teapot, okay, imagine it's wood. Now wood, it absorbs flavors? Yeah, of course. Now it absorbs, let's say I put tea in there. Absorb the lemongrass flavor, but now I want to just make regular black tea. I want to get that flavor out. How would I get the flavor out of the wood? You just boil hot water in there. You boil the hot water in there, and then the flavor goes back into the water, and then your pot is good. Now, if you use old school metal, the same thing would be true, like a cast iron, right? Cast iron absorbs flavor in it. Yes, that's why people like the cast iron. How do you get rid of the cast iron? You put something else in there that's going to take the flavor out. I'm not talking yet about any fancy things, just basic rule. The way something absorbs flavor is the way something gives off flavor. Rule number 1. Rule number 2. Bad flavor doesn't count. So bad flavor doesn't count. Means, what happens if the food that was absorbed into your pot already spoiled? Now it's rancid. Is that a problem of kashrut? No. You're allowed to eat rancid, non-kosher food. Nobody does it. That's why we don't eat it. But after 24 hours, that's the time that our rabbis give us, that things go rancid, then everything that's absorbed in your pot is already not a problem of kashrut. And that means that after 24 hours, you don't have to do anything. All of your pots and pans, plates, dishes, sinks, ovens, everything is already kasher. It's all parve, it's all kasher lePesach, everything. Our rabbis made a rule. So life gets a little complicated here. Our rabbis say they don't let the 24 hours reset all of our pots and pans. Why? Because maybe somebody won't wait 24 hours. They'll wait 23 hours. And then they're going to use a pot that had meat flavor inside of it to make milk. In 24 hours, after 24 hours, not a problem. Why? Because that meat flavor is already spoiled. Yes? But within 24 hours, so if it's hour number 23, what's the status of the milk food cooked in here? It's all not kosher and you have to get rid of it, right? That's the problem. So our rabbis made a rule. Nothing ever becomes kosher again until you make it kasher. How do you make it kasher? Remember rule number 1. Rule number 1 is the same way that it absorbed, it's the same way that it's going to get rid of flavor. So if this absorbed, boiling and hot, let's say it's a chicken soup pot and it has noodles, and it absorbed chametz into it by sitting on top of a fire, boiling in water, how are you going to make this kasher lePesach? You're going to put boiling water inside of it. And after you boil the water, now you take the water out. And this pot, you can either make dairy in it, or you can make your kasher lePesach soup inside of it. Because this pot is kasher lePesach. That's what it is. And you can do that with pretty much anything. With your plates, with your forks, with your knife, with your pasta strainer on it. Liba, you brought me so many nice toys. All of those things, they follow the same rules. Now, that's a general rule. It's a general rule. There's more than that. There's a very important rule that in halakha in general, ta'am, the taste of something is ikar. That's the main rule. So if food, so Obadiah, remember that chicken soup we had before? Let's say some pig falls into the chicken soup. Abraham, I said, how much chicken soup do you need in the pot to get rid of the pig? 60 times more than the pig. Why is the rule 60? What's the logic behind the 60 rule? That would already be 51. So what's the idea about 60? Oh, very good. Our rabbis seem to have run some experiments over there, and they determined that at a 60, about there is when you don't taste the pig anymore. If you were to take orange juice and water and dilute the orange juice with water, somewhere around the 60 mark, you wouldn't taste it anymore. And taste is what matters. And if there's no taste, by the way, earlier on, if there's only nullified, let's say there's only 20 parts chicken soup to the pig, but there's no taste of pig, can I eat that chicken soup? Yes, Rabbi Shimon, but I can't taste it because maybe it's going to taste like pig. So what do I do?
Taste it and spit it out, or give it to somebody who's not Jewish.
Oh, you did not just do that first one. The second one, you go to someone who's not Jewish, and you say, "Please, sir, or ma'am, can you taste this and tell me what flavors do you tell here?" Then I taste chicken. I said onion, some carrots. Oh, do you taste any pig? No, there's pig in here. I can't taste it. In that case, your soup is now kasher. But it's only nullified in 20. It doesn't matter. 60 is just a number. It's a number in which you no longer taste the food that's inside of there before. That's a very important rule to remember. But more important is to remember that the reason why 60 became so prominent is because Ashkenazi Jews had very tough neighbors. And in Europe, they say we don't trust the non-Jews because they want us to eat pigs. They want to trick us. We don't have good relationships with them. And in that kind of environment, it wasn't so easy to ask your next door neighbor because he might trick you. But in a place where the non-Jews are good people, normal people, you live in a good world. Most people here are fine. Most people out there might feel a little different since October 7th. Most people around us are not overtly anti-Semitic to us. Yeah, listen, can you just taste this? Did you taste breadcrumbs in my soup? Oh no, it's good. Great, wonderful. Then it's kasher lePesach. That's how halacha works. Huh?
You need to worry about the fact that he might lie to you, considering that as soon as you taste it, it's going to be revealed anyway.
That's such a good question. That is such a good question. Meaning, okay, so here's the thing. By the chametz, for sure I don't have to worry because I can taste it. And what's the worst case scenario? I mean, I could taste. I don't have to ask him about chametz. Chametz I can taste myself. Today it's not asur. By the pig, no, you don't really need to be concerned. Which is why this whole thing. Maybe you have to go to an expert non-Jew, maybe someone with a reputation. You have to find some kind of 5-star chef. No, you just find somebody who has a palate. There are people that eat spoiled food. They don't know it's spoiled. Those are not the people you're asking questions to. Like there are people in the house. So there's always that person in the house. Hey, can you smell the milk if it's spoiled? Why are you asking me? Because I think everything smells good. That's not me. There are people like that. I was once in an event, and the caterer brought out green fish. Like Dr. Seuss has green eggs and ham. Yeah, it came out green, and I know many things in life. One of them is that fish don't come out green. That's not how you eat fish. It wasn't even a salsa verde fish. It was just green. That's what it was, and it was spoiled, and it smelled so bad. Hashem Yishmor what spoiled fish smells like. And I told everybody that food is spoiled, and everybody ate that food. Everybody, they thought it was the flavor of the fish. Hashem Yishmor. You can't. You smell it. You see it. It's spoiled. You just trust regular people. They have a normal taste. Now that you know that. Let's talk about our kitchen. The rule is that everything in our kitchen can be made kasher for Pesach. Can be made kasher for Pesach, assuming that we know how it was used and therefore we can make it kasher. Yes? And that's assuming that those utensils absorb flavor, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So let's walk through our kitchen for just a moment and say what's there. Pots and pans. The pots, we use them usually on a stovetop with liquids. So how do we make them kasher? On a stovetop. With liquids, either you get a bigger pot and you put the smaller pot fully inside of the bigger pot, or you can take the bigger pot and overflow it with water. One of those two options. They're a little bit messy. One of those two options. Let's say there's something that I use in a fire. So this is my, I have a skewer here somewhere. I got it. I love this set so much. This is I'm making burgers in the fire and they have breadcrumbs and I'm flipping them over. This thing, how do I make it kasher for Pesach? No, water is not going to help because water is not as hot as the fire. So how do I make it kasher? Make sure it's clean, right? And then I put it in the fire till it gets hot enough to burn my hand or hot enough like it's used. That's good enough. Now this is kasher Pesach. Yes? Exactly. But you have to blow torch a microwave, right? Why don't you have to? Because I used it in a fire. Now, let's say I have this. This is my ladle. So this soup is made on a stovetop. Now I take it off the stove and I bring it to my table, right? And I take from the ladle and I put it in a bowl. And I take from a ladle and I put it in a bowl. So now, here's my bowl. Here's my pot. This is made kasher on the fire with water. How do I make this one kasher? You dip it inside of the boiling water if you use it in the fire. But if you only use it off of the fire, then it's even less heat that you need to make it kasher. What about this bowl? This bowl just needs to have hot water poured on it because that's the way that it absorbs flavor. So there are levels. Libun, making something kasher with fire. Hag'ala, making something kasher with water. Irui is pouring things. Like most of your silverware, you don't actually use it in the fire. And therefore, the way you make it kasher is by putting hot food or hot water on top of it. Now, all of that being said, there are some things that are never used with heat. For example, okay, I can't separate them. My cups that I drink my chametz orange juice with, right? Now, my chametz orange juice, I am afraid because now I bought the kosher for Passover orange juice. I'll tell you a little secret. Well, 2 years ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I saw the kosher for Pesach orange juice, and it was being sold for $10.99 a bottle. And then I went to Costco, same city, and the same orange juice was sold in a 4-pack for $10.99. Now, I'm sure that today already the prices went up, both at Costco and at the kosher store. Okay, I'm sure they both went up because, since COVID, oranges became very expensive. Everything became expensive. But the world is getting expensive. This cup is only used for orange juice. It's used for my iced tea. It's used for my water. It's used for whatever you do with it. How do I make this one kasher? Flavor is only absorbed through heat. And therefore, the only thing I have to do is to wash this out. And it's good for Pesach. That's important to know. Why? Let's say I have this pot. Really, it's really Haggalah, just a lower level of Haggalah. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe you would say it's a Haggalah, but not on the fire. Yes? I was going to tell you this cup. Tell me a story. Maybe one time my cousin visited and they couldn't find the cup to make their coffee, so they made their coffee in here. You have a cousin like that? Everybody has a cousin like that. Or you have an inconsiderate guest like that. How do I now make this kasher? It's the chametz coffee. That's the problem. They told me that the decaf chametz is coffee is chametz. So now how do I make it kasher lePesach? Wrong. One time, my aunt will use this for her chicken soup with noodles. How do I make it kasher lePesach? Someone who's been... Why you don't? Who said you don't? Rachel, why you don't? Maran writes...
That's what we done. You go after the majority of the seafood.
See, that's Benjamin Schofield for you. Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch that you go achar rov tashmisho. The majority use of an object is how you make it kasher. If you don't usually use it on the fire, but once use it on the fire, it's not enough reason to make it kasher through a fire. You remember that after 24 hours, we only make things kasher out of a rabbinic injunction. The rabbis didn't extend their injunction to things that are not usual. And therefore, there are so many things. Maybe on my countertop, one time there was chametz that spilled over there. That's not usually what happens here. By the way, in halakha, this rov, majority is how we judge everything. How do you define a tzaddik or a rasha, a righteous person or an evil person in halakha? The Rambam says, don't bring me chassidut or kabbalah now. The Rambam says, Hadam nidon lefi rov ma'asav. You judge a person by the majority of their actions. All of us do avirot. And tzaddik ba'aretz. There's no righteous person on earth who's always righteous. The difference between us and other people is that we, on the majority of our time, try to do the right thing. And even when we mess up, we are still tzaddikim, we're still righteous people. And other people, they always do things wrong. And that means that even though they do some things right, they're still rashaim. The fact that Hezbollah runs soup kitchens doesn't take away from the fact that they're terrorists. Your soup kitchen doesn't exonerate you from that. They do run senior homes, and they do have orphanages. It doesn't matter. Adolf Hitler, Yamach Shemov Zicho, he was an animal rights activist. It doesn't matter that you like dogs when you gas 6 million Jews. It doesn't matter. Because the person is judged based on the majority of their actions. That's in a bigger philosophical sense. On a simple pot level, this is something very simple. You only make things kasher through the way they were normally used. Not the way that sometimes, one time, maybe by accident. None of those things are halakha. Because after 24 hours, everything is really kasher in the first place. And that's a very important rule. One, you want to clean your pots and pans and utensils before you make them kasher. Number two, if you can, you should wait 24 hours. Because after 24 hours, bichlal, the kashering process that you're doing is really just to fulfill the rabbinic rule. And then you learned one last thing from me. And that was that the most important part is the taste and the flavor. When our rabbis were cooking, they used a few types of utensils. Metal, like cast iron. They had ceramic, pottery, not glazed, pottery. Like, the things you have your plants in outside, the rough material. Maybe they had glass at a certain point, glass. And our rabbis broke up halakha into those three categories. Metal is made kasher either through fire or water or other methods of heat. That's how you bring the flavor in, that's how you take it out. Pottery is not made kasher ever. Why? Because people are afraid they're going to break it. Maybe also because you can't get all the flavor out. But let's stick with this reason. Because people are very careful. You blowtorch ceramic, what's going to happen to you? It'll break, it'll crack. So people are afraid to do it the right way. Our rabbi told us not to make those things kasher. Metal, I told you. Glass. What about glass? In my book, I brought 3 opinions, but the opinion that we rule like in halakha, Maran says that glass, because it doesn't absorb flavor, it only needs to be clean. Once it's clean, you could use glass for meat and for milk and for Pesach and for chametz and for kosher and for non-kosher, and all of that is fine. Now I know there's some Sephardic rabbis who disagree. I know there's some Ashkenazi rabbis who disagree. I say some Ashkenazi rabbis because I have on good authority that when my father-in-law grew up in Mea Shearim with Hasidim, they all used glass for meat and milk. And the only time the Ashkenazim were careful not to use glass was between Pesach and Chametz. Why? Because there was a special stringency of Pesach. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch, by the laws of Pesach, the Rama says we don't make glass between Pesach and Chametz. In the laws of meat and milk, the Rama doesn't argue with Shulchan Aruch. Some say it's because he already said his opinion by Pesach. Some say because he really only meant by Pesach. Nonetheless, even Ashkenazim are able to use glass for meat and milk, and if they want for Pesach, also for Pesach, because the reality is that glass doesn't absorb. And they tell me, but the glass today has other materials mixed inside of it and other things. Fine, so try it. Here's the test, and this is going to be for everything in your kitchen. Take a glass cup. This is plastic, but take a glass cup. Take a glass. What do you cook in? Like a glassware dish. Very good. A glass you put in the oven. What's the spiciest pepper you can find now in the grocery store? Habanero pepper. Take a habanero. There's something more than habanero. What's more than habanero? Ghost chili. You know ghost chili? It turns you into a ghost. Yeah, this ghost chili. Oh, the Halevy kid, that's Al-Hanan. The Carolina Reaper. That sounds like you should never eat it. I don't want to know how he knows that. Maybe it's because Hannah is sitting next to him. Maybe she knows how to eat the Carolina Reapers. Now this Carolina Reaper, you take it in the pot with ghost peppers and habaneros and shiotso. What do they call those little tiny ones? You put them all in a pot together. You cook them in the oven for an hour. Cook them. Now take it out. You smell that pan. What's it going to smell like? Spicy. You're going to taste that food. What's it going to taste like? Now let's say you spill out all the peppers into a plate, and then you put tomatoes inside of that pan. What is it going to taste like, those tomatoes? Spicy. Now what happens when you take that glass dish and you put it in the sink and you wash it with soap and water, and then you put tomatoes back inside of it? What are those tomatoes going to taste like? Tomatoes. But what if you take the tomatoes and you cook them in the oven? What is the tomato going to taste like? Tomatoes. Meaning the flavor was never absorbed into the glass in the first place. This is a test that you can try at home. And therefore it doesn't matter. Is it Pyrex? It doesn't matter. All of the materials in your home that don't absorb flavor also do not have to be made kasher lePesach. So now hold on to your chairs. For those of you who were here last year, it's not scary. What? It depends. I don't have coinware, but if it works like glass, then it's like glass. Now, I want it for those of you that are new here, okay? For many years, we were quiet about this until about 3 years ago. Mori Harav Peretz told us that we have to say it loud, so I'm saying it loud, and I've already suffered the repercussions. There's very little left that people can do to me they haven't already done to me to make my life miserable. So, Baruch Hashem, I'm not afraid to say something again. Most all the utensils in your home don't really absorb flavor in the first place. Primarily, stainless steel. Okay? Stainless steel, when you take the same story of the ghost peppers and the Carolina Reapers and the habaneros and you do it in a stainless steel pot, and then you clean out the pot and you boil water in the pot. If you drink that water, will you taste the peppers in that water? Don't be scared. No, you won't. If you make those peppers in a cast iron pan, and then you wash the cast iron with soap and water, and you boil water inside of that pan, will you taste the peppers? Absolutely. Your water might even come out brown. And therefore, that's the major difference between the metal that our Chachamim had and the metal that we have. It's not that I think that the laws of the Shulchan Aruch don't apply, but the metal that we use today is in the category of glass. And therefore, in my home, I don't want you to be scared. In my home, I use stainless steel pots and pans for meat, and I wash them out, and I use them for milk, and I wash them out, and I use them for Pesach, without any kashering process aside from water and soap. You don't have to be scared, because that is the truth. If you want emet, I can't tell you if you want minhagim, you want what the community does. I can't tell you. You want the truth is the truth. So now, most of your pots and pans, most of your utensils already now in this category don't require any kashering for Pesach at all. Those that do, you can put them in the dishwasher. All the things that need hot water poured on them, just put it in the dishwasher and let it run in a hot cycle. Those that need to be boiled in hot water, you can either boil them in hot water or you can put them in the oven for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long it takes. Let them cook and take it out of the oven and they're all good to go. So you can make your kitchen kasher in a matter of minutes, mamash in minutes. Let me talk about appliance by appliance. Very quickly, I want to run through your kitchen, okay? You have ovens. Ovens don't need to be made kasher for Pesach. If you want to, clean them and turn them on for 15 minutes, half an hour, however long it takes to hit the highest temperature that it goes. Don't not self-clean. Self-clean is very dangerous, and self-clean is not good for your oven. Just your oven goes to 500. You never cook more than 450. Do it on 450. Do it on 500. Fine. 20 minutes. You don't have to. No, you don't have to. But you could if you can. You don't have to. Your stovetop. If your stovetop is made of glass, does it require any kind of hechsher? No. If your stovetop is made of other materials, so clean it. Burn it. That's all. There's not. How long does it take for your stovetop to get so hot that you can't touch it? A minute? So put it for 3 minutes. What are you scared? Nothing else. Now what about your microwave? Your microwave, when you cook something in the microwave for 3 minutes and you take that hot water out of the microwave, is the water hot?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the cup hot? Is the microwave hot? If you stick your hands in the microwave, will your hands get burned? Your microwave does not need to be made kasher Pesach. It only needs to be clean for Pesach. Wipe it down. Like you should wipe it in general. Sometimes you go to the microwave, you open it up, and there's like all kinds of creatures that are living inside of the microwave. You don't want to do that. I once visited an apartment of young men. I say young men because it never would happen in an apartment of girls. And there were like green things and purple things. Hashem Yishmo. I was like, you can't eat any of the food here, not because of kashrut. It's like antibiotics from the microwave. You have to clean the microwave. If you want to be very strict, you can boil some water in there. The steam makes you feel good. Make some steam in the microwave. Yes?
Question about that. So, let's say it doesn't get hot, right? But steam still comes out of your food. So let's say you're making, some sort of liquid that has chametz in it. So some sort of soup with bread in it. Who cares what it is, right? And that steam comes out and goes all over the microwave. I've always heard you have to at least put water in a cup in the microwave for 3 minutes and then do that.
That's what I said. I said if it makes you feel good, you can boil water.
Yeah, but you're saying realistically.
Zev, you're in the field of engineering. The stuff that comes out that's called steam. What is it?
Water.
Is it chametz water?
No, not if we're going by the 60
Go by the science, Chevra. Follow the science.
rule.
Yeah, the steam wouldn't help.
No, the answer is no.
I didn't say it. You said it. That's all. So no.
Okay, no, I'm just
Maybe people are concerned about the splatter in the microwave. Something splatters in the microwave. Okay, fine. So that's why when you microwave things, just cover them. I don't know, or clean them after you splatter them. Aside from that, what are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything. We had a big kind of an argument.
That's because you're in Texas. That's why.
What?
That's because you're in Texas. You're not afraid of anybody. Don't mess with Texas.
We had an argument in synagogue about it, so I'm just.
You know, my grandfather had one rule. In his Bet Knesset, you were not allowed to talk. Mamash not talk. You'd come inside. Even if you want to argue about something, outside. That way, everybody fights in the Bet Knesset, and they never come back. He said, fight in the front yard, then don't come back to the front yard. But in the Bet Knesset, we pray, and then we go home. That's we don't fight in the Bet Knesset. It's a good minhag. So now we talk about your what other appliances you have. Your dishwasher. Who eats out of their dishwasher?
Answer the question.
Yes.
Stove again. On the stove top, if you have a gas stove, you really can't get it all hot. It's just in that little area where the fire is.
Right.
So
let's give me the scenario. So let's say I'm making spaghetti at one of those stovetops, and the spaghetti falls out onto the stove. Right? That's the assumption. And the spaghetti now flavor is being absorbed in the stove. Let's imagine. Okay, but let's imagine. So now there's chametz biliot in here. They're hiding in here, the chametz. Now, what's the scenario? Next scenario is that tomorrow I'm going to be making matzah balls. And the matzah ball will fall out in the exact same spot where the spaghetti was yesterday. And it's going to absorb the flavor from that place so that when I taste the matzah ball, I'm tasting spaghetti. Or like this. Over there, I know your face looks like that because it's not a normal scenario. But let me ask you all, do you have separate stove tops for meat and milk? Please don't say yes. No. Why not? Meat and milk is forbidden the whole year.
Because we never take something off the stove top.
Very good. The halacha is that when you use your stovetop for meat and milk, the assumption is anything that falls in your stovetop, you shouldn't eat. You shouldn't eat. Unless you have a meat stove and a milk stove. If you have a dirty stove, bichlal, you should never eat from there. But in general, that's the rule. In terms of kashrut, it doesn't matter to me that in the stovetop is spaghetti absorptions. What matters to me is what's going to happen when kosher for Pesach food falls on it, which is not such a likely scenario that it's going to fall within 24 hours in that same spot, and it's going to get flavor. So what are we worried? What? No, but maybe it's the part next to the stove where it doesn't get hot. Maybe. That's what I'm making me. I'll entertain. Now talk to me about countertops. What I just said is true for sure about countertops. Doesn't matter granite, doesn't matter tile, doesn't matter. Huh?
If it doesn't get hot, there's no b'liot.
Oh, Rabbi Shimon, I'm giving people the most paranoid, most scary scenario possible. There are secret biliot even in lukewarm temperatures, and who knows? I mean, let's make all kinds of. I've read so many kashrut articles in my life of people making up scenarios that I feel like I also get to make up stuff. So this is okay. So now I'm taking the hot barley soup pot and I'm putting it on the countertop. Does the flavor of the barley go out through the pot? Does it make the countertop? Now, what happens if some of it spills there? Okay. And then 3 days from now, I'm going to make a brisket. And how do I make my brisket? I'm going to pull it out of the pan after it's hot. I'm going to slap it down on my countertop exactly where the barley spilled 3 days ago. And I'm going to slice it up and put it back in the pan. Let's forget flavor for a moment, okay? What's the likelihood that one, you cut up your brisket on your countertop? Without a cutting board, without a plate, without a pan. Okay, then on top of that, what's the likelihood that it's done within 24 hours? Or that you're putting it in the exact same spot that the chametz fell in last time? And you forgot that spoiled food doesn't, so after 24 hours, not a problem. You also probably cleaned your countertop with Windex or some Mr. Clean or something else. That's pogem. That makes it have a bad flavor in the first place. Nobody wants lemony fresh brisket. And therefore, all of that, someone's going to make a new recipe, lemony fresh brisket. All of that becomes kasher lePesach anyways. Yes? And so when I'm looking at my kitchen refrigerator, you have separate shelves for meat and milk? No. So why would you have separate shelves for chametz and non-chametz? All of these things that you don't do the rest of the year, why are we doing them all of a sudden come at Pesach time? It's very unusual. And so you can. Hold on, we had a lady come here once. She came to the Kehillat once. And someone sent her here, very smart. Somebody sent her here because she had just started keeping kasher. Liba, the stories for you. She just started keeping kasher. She lived here in Del Mar area. And the rabbi told her, he came to check out her kitchen. He wanted to help her make her kitchen kasher. And he told her that she needs new ovens, she needs new sinks, and she needs to replace all of her marble countertops. It's a big house in Del Mar. It's a big house. Marble countertops itself were going to be tens of thousands of dollars. And she asked me, well, why would the rabbi tell me that? And I said, maybe the rabbi, I said, you should judge him favorably. Maybe the rabbi's brother is in home reconstruction, or, he's in home remodeling, home improvement. He needs to worry for the parnasah of his brother. Maybe that's how you should judge him favorably. You telling someone to throw away a countertop? Is that normal for people today? And they said, no, let's blowtorch everything. 100 years ago, they had blowtorches? No. And therefore, this whole, so therefore, here's a good statement to know. I told my children, I told my Kehillat, I'm telling you. I know what time it is, so I'm kind of pushing my time. So forgive me that I'm a little over time. If anyone needs to go, you can go. I want to finish. I told my children that when I go to somebody's house, and if it feels like I'm being judgmental, I'm being judgmental. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm doing right now. When you go to someone's house and you want to eat in their house, you have to make a judgment call. What's the judgment call? Can I trust these people with the food, or do I not trust these people with the food? How do I want to determine if someone's kashrut is trustworthy or not? I need to know. Someone said, you have to make sure the lady covers her hair. What's the connection between covering her hair and the brisket? Maybe the hair went into the brisket. What's the story? I need to know that somebody eats kasher food. So if somebody observed the laws of kashrut, my assumption is they know the laws of kashrut. I need to ascertain they know the laws of kashrut. When I come into somebody's house and I see the countertops are covered in aluminum foil, and the faucet has a sock duct taped to it, and the sinks have plastic inserts there to collect the non-chametz bacteria, and everything, it looks like I'm in a UFO spaceship. When I come to that house, I know one thing for certain. The people who live in this home do not know what chametz is. They don't know how chametz works. They don't know how taste transfers or doesn't transfer. These people are absolutely ignorant in all areas that relate to kashrut and how kashrut works. In such people's houses, I'm afraid to eat on Pesach. And I'm not laughing at the end of the sentence. I'm not telling you, haha, I'm just kidding. I'm being very serious. If a person doesn't realize that chametz doesn't exist in the cabinets in the bedroom where the socks are, how can I trust that they actually made food that is kasher Pesach? They're living in La La Land. And therefore, when I go to somebody who knows halakha, see, wow, look, they did this, they did that, but they didn't. Now, aluminum foil works even, because everybody's house, they decorate aluminum foil. Night of the Seder, it looks beautiful. Everything is sparkly. Mamash, literally sparkly. And the next morning, you come to their house, day 7 of Pesach. What does that aluminum foil look like?
That's ripped.
It's all ripped and it's all torn. You see the counter, you see the tile, you see the sink. Now on day 7, it's okay if you have some chametz countertop showing? It doesn't make any sense. And before they had aluminum foil, there's not a normal reality that you and I are in. The fact that I say something like this and it sounds so ludicrous, but so many people, there are a lot of people that have no clue what they're doing. And therefore, we have to push back. When I see a home that is covered in aluminum foil, Mori Harav, his wife passed away a few weeks ago, when his wife once put aluminum foil on the countertop. He said, Rabbanit, is it there because of the law of Pesach, or it's there for decoration? And she smiled at him and she said, it's for decoration. I said, okay, fine. Why? He said, decoration, it's her house. She could do with it whatever she wants. Halakha, it's my house. I don't want aluminum foil for halakha. He said, and therefore, if she wants to decorate with aluminum foil, mabouk, do whatever you want. But if you're going to do it for halakha, I'm taking it off the countertop. She made him happy. Yes.
Rav Yonatan.
Yes.
Could I point out one thing?
Please.
Is a few months ago, in New York, a Rav and his son were sentenced in court because however they did it, they went to like a nursing home to quote unquote kosher the kitchen for Pesach, they brought in these hot coals. They didn't know proper fire safety. The fire, after they left, the fire spread into the walls. An elderly man died and a firefighter died.
It's a very
All
famous.
because they brought hot, like no reason that they had to bring this hot coals, and they're not even trained in the basic safety to do such a procedure.
I watched that story very closely. It's a tragedy on all ends. It's a tragedy. Loss of life is a tragedy. Loss of life for a reason is a tragedy. Loss of life for no reason whatsoever to endanger a whole place and people's lives. And how is that? I don't want to judge the people. There are judges in this world and there are judges in the court case. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judge of the world. But let's say remove that particular case. Endangering people's lives for which purpose? Every year they use this chemical in New York. People like to clean with for Pesach. It's called Rabbanit. I think it's called Saint Moritz. Moritz? Is that what it's called? Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's called St. Moritz.
Saint Moritz. It burns people's flesh. It's a very, very harsh cleaner. And every year there are kids who the bottle spills, he ran around playing tag with his brother, or they touched the countertop before it was clean, and kids end up in the emergency room, they're faced with acid, their hands, for which reason? For which reason would a person endanger their family? Torah says, "Lo tachnis to'eva el betecha." Do not bring something into your home. It's dangerous. How can you bring such a thing to your... Once upon a time, we had a problem in my backyard. We live in a canyon. There were rats. Somebody ordered to my house rat poison. They ordered rat poison. Now, I opened the Amazon box. I thought it was a gift. I don't know what. I opened it up. It's a bucket of rat poison. On this bucket, in every direction possible. Keep away from children. Touching the container itself. Wash your hands even with touching the outside of the box. Even minor consumption of this can kill a person, an adult, up to 300 pounds. But all over the package. That should be terrorism, like sending me anthrax. Why would you send that to me? I'm a human being. I'm at home. I have children at home. I'm going to put it in the backyard. Someone's going to touch it. A rat is going to take it to someone else. An owl dies from the tree because they ate the rat that ate the poison. Why would you touch these things? For what reason do you have them? It's not normal to me that people think it's a normal part of making things kosher on the Pesach.
If I could share well, even if it's not a matter of life or death. And I went to the Grand Race Course one, to be quite popular for venues. And first thing when I showed up is, did you bring a blowtorch? I said, no. Why? Because they said the last time a Mashiach came here with a blowtorch, set up fire alarms and fire brigade came out, they charged us $600 for the call out. And we're not having it anymore.
Rabbi Shimon, so listen to my story. We're almost wrapped up, Chaver, so listen to my story. I once, here in San Diego, there was a person who was getting married, and for whatever reason, the mashgiach for that event canceled on them, and they wouldn't let them do an event, a kfur wouldn't be kosher. So I volunteered to go be the mashgiach there. I was already the rabbi of a community, but okay, there were tastes. I went to the kitchen, I rolled up my sleeves. As soon as I came into the kitchen, the manager, she came out, "Get out of my kitchen!" "What do you want?" "Here, in Rancho Bernardo." "What do you want? What did I do to you? Do you know me?" She says, "You guys!" "You guys." I don't know which guys, I never met you before. She says, "You guys were here on Passover, you rented the hotel." Yeah. "And you guys," the whole speech, "you guys," but that's not even real English, but okay, "You guys, you blowtorched the whole kitchen." They brought a blowtorch, and they have these like glass boxes they put on display. Like when they serve food, they put a fruit platter on top of a glass box. The rabbi came and blowtorched those two, and they all cracked. They all broke. And then he blowtorched their dishwasher, the commercial dishwasher. Have you seen it? It's like a long conveyor belt made out of plastic, and it goes. It's a beautiful thing, by the way. It goes. You put it on one side, it comes out clean on the other side. Yeah, some of them even fancy. They dry them. Some of them they have a person there making minimum wage drying all the dishes. Some way it goes like that. This genius. You mentioned fire safety. He doesn't know any safety. Doesn't even know how things work. That's what happens when you don't study science or math. Or he took the blowtorch and he blowtorched the whole machine, and that whole conveyor belt melted into one solid piece of plastic. And then when the hotel asked for them to pay for the dishwasher and the thing, said no. You signed a contract with us that we have the right to make the kitchen kosher. That's part of making the kitchen kosher, and they wouldn't pay the damages for it. A year later, I come to the kitchen and someone says, "You guys get out of my kitchen," because of who? Because of people that are desecrating God's name. in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a terrible thing. But a good story that I heard there, because you think chametz water was invented today. They told me that particular agency that certified that hotel, they were careful not to use any water that was bought on Pesach. They only used water that was drawn before Pesach, because maybe there would be chametz in the water. And therefore, it's an old minhag. There's not a real minhag, but it's an old minhag. Even in some people's families, they have that. And what happened to that hotel was that on day 6 or 7 of Pesach, they ran out of water. And so they wouldn't give anyone to drink water. But the worst part is not drinking. You can go to the sink and drink water. Nobody can police that. All of the cooking for the second half of the holiday was done using apple juice. So chicken soup using apple juice. The vegetables they boiled with apple juice. Everything with apple juice. But someone who has glucose problems, that would kill them already in 5 minutes. It's the apple juice chicken soup. But this whole story, because there are people who are convinced that water has chametz inside of it. And after that, there's nothing really left to say. There's nothing really left to say. And so, in other years, I talked to you about kitniot and gibraks, and you just go look at previous videos, or from what I've shared with you tonight, you probably know my stance. In just a minute, I'm going to finish the shiur, and you're welcome to stick around and ask questions about products, about things, about Pesach, about whatever you want. I will stay here the whole night. If you need to go, you can go. I've taken tonight off to learn Torah with you. But that's really what I came to say right now. Baruch Hashem, we started this whole group, this whole forum, started when I started this Kehillat in 2015. Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim. We had a few people in the community. We needed to answer some Pesach questions. So let's make a Facebook group. No, innocently. Let's make a Facebook group. And that Facebook group, I remember the first year we put it out, we have a Facebook group, it was 77 people. I was like, wow, we're a community of 30, 40 people. We've doubled our size on Facebook. And then, things grow and they grow and they grow. This year, if we haven't already, 4,700 people that are part of our Facebook group. And but my treasurer is here. If just every person gave $1 a month, all of Kehillat Shaar HaShamayim's expenses would be covered. Yeah, we don't take a penny for this, for the reason I first mentioned in the class. But the whole idea of having this forum was because it's about creating a place for people to learn Torah and to feel part of a community that resonates with them. They understand is a part of. The reason this whole Zoom setup is here and the thousands of dollars of equipment and man hours that we've spent setting up this whole online platform and the YouTube classes and the podcast, everything else, is because we realize that if we have something good, we don't want to keep it to ourselves. We want it to be available to everybody. You may be living somewhere else, across the world, across the country, across the city. And for you, it's not a viable option to be living right now here with us. So what? You're still a part of my Kehillah. You're still a part of my community. You are part of this Bet Midrash. You have a place here. And I know that on behalf of my wife and I and the whole community, I invite you, make it a point to come here. We don't exist only for Pesach. We exist the whole year. And the same Judaism that you experience now and the relief that you feel now and perhaps the happiness that is in your heart, that same happiness can exist by Purim and by Chanukah and by Shavuot, by a regular Shabbat and even a Tuesday afternoon. To live Jewish in a way that is normal and sane and balanced and firmly rooted in our traditions and classical sources, all of those things are a very liberating feeling. And it's something very special. And so I encourage you, come, make a visit here, plan a trip here, be here for a Shabbat, come here for a holiday, come here for a weekday class. And for those of you who can't do that, please recognize that the forum that we run for Pesach, it's going to close in a week. After a week from now, Rabbi Yitzchak Shem Tov, Liba, or Tzvi, they go on vacation for the rest of the year. They go sit on a beach in the Bahamas somewhere. And from the money they make from this forum, they can retire for the rest of the year. He's laughing at me, Rabbi Yitzchak. That money from the forum. Only they lose time. Liba's busy calling companies, researching ingredients inside of baby formulas. We do that not for any intention of profit. Trust me, we don't. We don't make one. What do we do it for? Because I want Jewish people to finally experience a Judaism they can be proud of. And the fact that you're here tells me that you're the type of Jewish person that belongs here. And whether you can be here or not be here, know that I see you and we hear you and we know you and we want you. And I'm asking you, please don't be a stranger. I don't want to wait till next year, Pesach, to see your name. I don't want to see your face on a Zoom call in a year from now. I want to see you in Yerushalayim, but until then, sit with me in the shiur. Come on a Tuesday night class. Sit in a Monday afternoon class. Maybe on a Sunday morning class. We offer classes all across the schedule. The best way is to stay connected with us, to be part of those shiurim. The Rabbanit gives classes, I give classes, emails and text messages and WhatsApps. Sometimes we're better at answering, sometimes not. I'll be honest with you. I always tell people, I'm either going to answer your message in 3 minutes or in 3 months. There's no middle between those two times. Unfortunately, that's the way that life is. Probably I should practice some delegation, but for the most part, we want you to know that this is a wholesome Jewish experience. And I'm asking you, please be part of this community tomorrow also. Be part of it next week also. And give your children the gift of being part of a Judaism that they can really get behind and they can really be proud of. And a Judaism they will never run away from. And if for you, you're happy where you're at and you're happy with what you have, that's fine. And remember, the next generation needs something different. Do v'doshav. And so I bless you all for being here. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for putting your trust in this Bet Midrash. We love you very much. And B'ezrat Hashem, I wish you all a Chag Kasher v'Sameach. We should see each other, God willing, in Yerushalayim. We should be together on Har HaBayit. But until then, I'm going to stick around here.